All right, we're going to see if this is working better, especially with the, I can see my little pick here, whether or not it's in focus or not. And it absolutely looks like the video is even doing. But anyway, welcome to Live at 5 Mondays. We'll see how this goes. We will carry on and see how it goes. Anyway, welcome. Hello. How's everybody doing? It seems like Mondays, Live at 5 Mondays is back on track just for Mondays. And I kind of like it like that in some ways because there is much going on at this time, much going on in the world. And it just gives me a time to settle into what is, how can I say it, what is of value to people over the course of the week. And I'm just thinking about how many things are out there, how much information is out there, how much there is to do in people's lives as well. And quite often when I am doing a video, I will go to, 1 hour. I'll do that. So hopefully it's not choppy today. I'm hoping that it's not. When the replay is going on, it looks fine, but it may have everything to do with keywords or anything like that. But let's get going. So welcome Live at 5 Mondays. 3 components. 1 component is something completely new, something completely different, and 2, well, what's kind of in the news or on, how can I say it? I want to say on tap. I guess if we were coming into a pub, what's coming down the pipeline perhaps, what are people speaking about, talking about, those kind of things. So I'm going to do some shares. I love to share stories because stories actually, well, it's from my experience, my personal experience for the most part, and then go into something funny, some jokes or something like that, some humor to lighten it up. And if you have any particular puns or jokes right now, type them into the comments, and that's what I'll bring up. If there's a few there, then we'll just focus on what you have to share. And it'd be easy just to maybe have somebody come on and do it, but I don't know if the technical's set up for that. Hi, Marcia. It was good to see Marcia on Saturday at the yard sale. A handful of people that I knew showed up. It was our annual yard sale, and the community here, they're so grateful. I mean, having a yard sale community where we had about 30 houses. I don't think, just to tell you the story, I went around, but I heard from a couple, one particular person said, two, where they tired themselves out getting ready for the yard sale, staying up late getting ready, that by the time the next morning came, probably thinking they had to get up at 8 a.m. to get ready, they couldn't do it. So they didn't participate in the yard sale. So maybe we had at 27 houses at the end of the day, 3 houses, same story, couldn't, but it didn't have the energy. And managing energy is so, it's one of those things. Well, it's definitely in the September 22nd presentation, because energy, as they say, is everything. Everything is energy. So managing energy is very important, including the mind and the body, and how they connected use up energy kind of other ways. So it's very important to manage our energy. And thank you, Marcia, for reminding me to share that story. But that is an important piece, is to manage our energy. If you are doing too much, now mind you, some people can do more than other people, and we just have to accept where any of us have our source of energy coming from, or are we just more energetic for whatever reason it is. And we just kind of have to accept that there is that part of it. But I can share, just on top of that, when I was doing marathons, I knew that that's not where I wanted to expend my energy for the long term anyway. A lot of energy. I had to quit karate because I could not do, the training was 4 days a week. I chose 4 instead of 5. You kind of do some things on the off days, but karate was actually minimum 3 times a week in the dojo. So I had to make a choice. And I chose to finish up and commit and be with my running partners, buddies for this kind of challenging themselves, challenging all of us, all of ourselves. So managing energy is so, so important. Now I'm going to jump into something because I want to jump into something completely uh, different in some ways, but not. I mean, sometimes it's going to be actually in your awareness. And I have show and tell here, which I love, love, just love to show and tell. And so this was green, but this is what we call a horse chestnut. It's not edible, and apparently it's closer or somehow related into the maple um, tree. But as most trees do, they actually bloom or they seed, and they have the same things going on. But it opened on its own, as seeds will, this way. Other things, other seeds have to open up, but they're very beautiful, very beautiful. But they're not edible. They're not edible at all. So you want to kind of leave that over there. Then on my walk on Saturday, okay, bye, Marcia. I found another, what I thought was another chestnut based on the leaves, based on how it was looking, but looks very different, much smoother than the horse chestnut that, yeah, I just pricked myself handling the horse chestnut, but this one not so much, but there are prickles. So I think this is an Indian horse chestnut. And there were, I think, 3 or 4 trees planted in the park near, when I say Indian, that's what they say, Indian. Indian is in India, by the cricket. Oh, now, quickly, it left my mind, but cricket pitch. And so that was there. But what it begged the question for me is, well, what is the edible chestnut look like? And I don't have one here because apparently they're rare, if at all, in Toronto. I know some Italian people that did know were somewhere, and they said they were old and died, the trees. But at the end of the day, the chestnut, the edible chestnut, is more likened to the oak and beech tree. Now, I don't know how they tell they're related, if they're looking at bark, leaves, trees, or whatever, but very, very high in vitamin C, minerals, fiber, what I mean. So in essence, they have, the antioxidants, which are a number of, vitamins and minerals. We can label them as antioxidants, which is helping with the metabolic processes or the toxins you come in. Is the oxidation, as we know, makes metal rust, but in our body there can be an oxidizing of they call them free radicals, and they're causing havoc. And if we can, how can you say, what you have to do is kind of attach something to it so that it will allow it to be at peace, allow it from not just rampaging. It's almost like having a bull in a china shop. So if you can imagine a bull in a china shop going crazy, wouldn't be a good picture. Things are breaking. And when it comes to free radicals, as you might have heard, it's like a bull in a china shop. It kind of moves around and, does this, does that, pings off this, breaks that. And your body has to be able to recover, so you have to have the nutrient and the energy and everything else, talking about energy again, to actually recover. And so antioxidants are the things that come in and they disable these free radicals, or let's say put the bull at bay, and you don't have all this breaking going on, all this chaos going on. And it is part of nature at the end of the day. So if we have to look at nature, nothing is bad. It just happens for the reasons it happens, and our body is equipped to deal with it or not, depending on your lifestyle, right? So chestnuts, there's different kinds. And the edible one is the edible one. That's the most important one. And it's very fussy, fuzzy, brushy looking, almost like those things that will brush the bottom of your shoe. You know, you come into the front hall and you got mud on your shoe. You see them at farms and horse farms, actually, surprisingly. And you get to brush off the dirt off the bottom of your shoes. And it looks similar to that. So very, very different than the horse chestnut, right? Very different than these two chestnuts. So you can see this one has large spikes on it, and there's spaces in between them so I could grab them. And then this one is, I think it's the Indian horse chestnut, and it definitely has spikes on it, but I could grab it like I could grab a ball. But I think this is Indian chestnut, and from the pictures, you would have to see an edible chestnut. Now, chestnut season is coming up, and roasted chestnuts on an open fire is a line that we typically will hear about. And at some point, they're going to be available in the grocery stores, in the food stores. But I definitely want to grow some. Now, what I'm thinking, it may take about 10 years because the black walnut tree, now I think we're about 4 or 5 years in, and it was already big to begin with, or let's say several feet to begin with, got produced its first two black walnuts. And so there's a time span we gotta wait and maybe there are already edible chestnut trees available out there to purchase that are already 4. They can't be too big because then the pot would have to be too big and be unhealthy for trees. So that's why they're smaller. But horse chestnuts, yeah, that we see them. You see them a lot. But I have noticed that the flowers are different. There's the white ones, and then I saw some red ones when they were flowering this summer. And then there's some yellow ones. And I think this Indian chestnut one, and I'm going to see how it opens up and what it looks like inside, is a yellow one. I think these ones are the yellow one, but there's red one too. But the edible chestnut ones are extremely very, very nutritious in many areas, from the minerals to the vitamins. And some of the things that they came up here is, you keep hearing this vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin C, manganese as well, B vitamins. So a lot in, when I was reading the benefits, I think there's 20 benefits to eating chestnuts. It kind of covers the whole, not the whole gamut, but a lot. At the end of the day, when you eat food that is nutritious and full of these nutrition, especially if it grows out in the wild, it's going to have a lot of benefits. You may want to just think of 5 or 7, or to not overwhelm the reader. But if the body is nutritionally sound and efficient and effective, all of this stuff, then there's gonna be all this. It's gonna be good for the heart. It's gonna be good for, because where does the free radical damage comes? It comes in the arteries, right? In the arteries. So this whole damage thing from free radicals or from toxicity in itself or process, this is breaking down the system. It's actually in the stages of disease. So I'm really I can't do it justice now because it does need about 15 minutes. But the stages of disease, I'm definitely going to be talking to it in the Awakening You presentation. It's really going to be, the whole presentation is about your well-being. Seeing the mind-body connection, yes, but looking at what is the mind and the body, the potentials, the powers we have as man, so many different things and little aspects. And it's about painting a picture for you for your well-being and to be well. And it's so simple and simplified in speaking to the stages of disease that the feedback that I've gotten over the past 10 years or so, or 12 years in speaking about it, has been amazing, because it just gives everybody the common piece they know about it. Now the next step is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? But the understanding would take the body into a more peaceful place, because you know why cancer is why it is created. You know why diabetes, you know why heart attacks are created. You know from the stages of disease, you know, you understand in a big way. And when I continue to speak to my clients about certain conditions they've already come in with or have had in the past, and we go through the stages of disease, it clicks. It clicks. They know exactly why. And in some cases, the reason why is what they thought it was, but everybody kept planting it in their head. No, that can't be it. No, that can't be it. Or not validating or saying anything in line with what they were feeling and thinking themselves. So very important that way. But that's what I want. I wanted to bring up the absolute beautiful, wonderful, tasty, edible chestnuts. Now, you can roast them, or you can also buy them in jars. This is probably more specialty stores, and I've had them where they come from France and they come in water. The only thing you have to think about when they come in water in a glass jar is when you open it, you have to eat them quickly, otherwise they'll go moldy. But you can, it's one of my favorite food is edible chestnut. And they're very creamy, and you can make butter out of them almost, and there's so much to the edible chestnut that it's, yeah. And just make sure if you're going to go buy chestnuts, then the idea for freshness is when you go to squeeze them, there's no air pocket. There's no space between the skin and the nut. So if they're not fresh, you'll be able to feel, they kind of like, it's like a buckle, you know, kind of like that. You can put your fingerprint in it, you can hear the little buckling as you're pressing it. But if they are fresh, then see, if I'm gonna, now horse chestnut is hard anyway, but I can't, there's no give. There's no give. And understanding that when people harvest the chestnuts, they do come typically from Europe. I mean, they come from afar. So the storage of them, the travel of them is always a factor. But the best you can, you want to get the ones that have no give when you are squeezing it. Enough about chestnuts. That's the treasure. The treasure chestnut. The treasure chestnut is a treasure. And to have some of that. And then I believe they come in cans as well. But anyway, there's certain other things that are going to come in. But they're, I mean, I just love them. I just love them. They're so good. You can put them in, you know, we have our harvest time coming up, so you can put them in stuffing if you do have a turkey. You can incorporate them into a lot of things. You know, they're not, they have the flavor they do. Very, in my mind, it's very sweet and they're very creamy. That's how if you roast them, they're going to be a little bit more crunchy. But if you have them like boiled chestnuts, they are, to me, they're sweet and they're very, very creamy. Very creamy. So let's get on. I'm going to first start off with a story about voting. So I went yesterday before the walk club, and so it's the, whatever it is, the pre-voting, the voting that you have 4 days and you can vote ahead of time. And so I went down there, and for you who have watched this, you know I have not worn a mask. I mean, I wore a little scarf once just to have some fun. It wasn't even planned, but it was in the big carrot, and it was actually a headscarf, and I just pulled it down. Didn't even have it on my face half the time. People aren't even paying attention. But so I go down and I say to the volunteer, times that I've passed there before, I've seen a big burly security guard out there, but this time there was just a volunteer out there, not just, a volunteer. And I came up and he says, oh, your mask. And I said, I'm exempt. And he goes, okay, stay here. And he went in, and I think at one point I kind of followed, and he says, no, you was checking in on something. And so nobody could be else in the building except for the volunteers, could be in the building when I went in. So the idea was Cheryl, you have to wait to people go. Now, at first, it was, yeah, everybody has to be cleared out before you can come in. We're okay. We're okay with people who are exempt, but we have to make sure everybody. And as the people that came behind me, fortunately, went there almost right as it opened, they had to wait in a line outside. So I'm waiting, and then I guess there was only one person in the room, and there were two polling stations there, but they had to wait till the other one's clear. So I went in. At some point, they said, oh, okay, come in and wait at the stairs. So they didn't keep me out the whole time. I went in, waited at the stairs, and it turned out that somebody from the walk club was actually volunteering, and where you could be a registrant or do something like that. He was sitting there out in the lobby, and we had a 5-minute chat. Once the person was cleared, then I was able to go in, do what I needed, voted, and then come out. And it wasn't until I came out that anybody else was allowed to go in. So that was the way they set it up. But I did mention to the thing, I said, well, what about just the physical distancing? Isn't that okay? And I'll just do double the physical distancing. But no, no. So they had their protocols, but yet they broke them a little bit. I was allowed in the building, waiting at the stairs, while one more person was in the room. And I don't know if they just did that because they wanted me to get out of the way from the queue that was starting. I have no idea. But that's what happened for me. So they are happy to allow people that are exempt to vote. So they're not turning away people from the voting stations or whatever. You can vote. I mean, this is Toronto, so just to put it in Toronto, Canada, we have our election coming up, and I'm in Toronto, so that's what happened in my experience in Toronto. I won't claim that every province or every volunteer is going to be the same as the protocol. I'm not sure, but I believe. I mean, there's a number of people that are medically exempt, and they can't turn them away, especially if they didn't vote by mail and for whatever reason. But that was my experience. So I wanted to talk about that for sure. And then I want to talk about Hugo Talks. Big shout out, as usual, to Hugo Talks. And he, besides loving his accent, he has some very good content. And the content that he had, which is why I put fake up there, is there was I think it was in Scotland, yes, Scotland, in a donut shop, and they have insects on the donuts, and they're highly promoting to consume donuts with insects. Good protein, DDD, and whatever, and sustainability, and we got to move towards insects. No, the fake food, and in this case saying, yeah, eat insects, that's the sustainable way to go. It's not the sustainable way to go. I have eaten, I don't know if it was barbecue crickets, but you can season them however you want. But they are, I'll just consider them dust. That's how I would describe it. It's just, at the end of the day, you see the cricket, but there's nothing left to the cricket. It's not raw, and so you have what you have. It's almost like, have you ever cooked anything so far gone that it's like light as a feather? You might as well, there's nothing left to it. And that's how I see the crickets. There's nothing left to it. But there's probably protein in there for sure. There's probably minerals in there for sure. I mean, the insects are the insects. But the direction this is all going is still pushing the narrative on the climate. We got to do stuff about the climate and the sustainability, all of that. And I'll post Hugo's video, very short video. But as I've talked about before, the amount of fake food that they're producing in the lab, take a few cells, culture it, grow it, make it look like a steak. And we already were seeded with this with particular grains in agriculture. Now grains in agriculture are good in many ways, the way it's stripped the land and things. So you can think of commercial farming in and of itself as being not ideal in the sense of our well-being. Yeah, our well-being is, is kind of going to be correlated or directly correlated as to what we put into our mouth and what is it that we're putting into our mouth. Just to accept all of the stuff under the guise of climate and sustainability is really going to dig a big hole. In fact, in essence, if we move away from animal, or a lot of people move away from animal, you have to understand that stress and many things play a role in how the body is efficient and effective. So if you were la la la, life is grand, life is no worries, all of that stuff, your body is probably more efficient. It's all this stuff. But that kind of life for most people is not quite there in all the different scale. I'm going to speak to more at September 22nd presentation. It really is understanding the big picture. And it is about managing energy all at the same time as well. So they all have all these pieces of the puzzle to come together, understanding the stages of disease, and you will be better equipped. About having these understandings, you'll be better equipped to navigate, have less volatility, bring more calmness into the body, which is going to help you digest better and detoxify better. It's a wonderful subject, and if I could teach it to everybody, I would. So I definitely wanted to mention that. And the one thing, Darling Daughter's home, the one thing I wanted to mention is what I'm hearing as well, and you may be hearing it as well, is that there is a shift in the food system somehow. Let's just say there is stones being thrown in the clogging the tractor wheels, and flames are coming into the picture, if you get my drift. And certain things are just crumbling and going away, that in the near future or whatever future, things might be different than they are now. I don't know. They might be just putting the FEAR in the minds of people, of course, but best to be prepared. So I wanted to then jump into a piece of information that thanks to, I'll just call her Barbara, and send me the email. And I've somewhat seen this before, but it was a great reminder, especially at this time over the last month, where there's talk about MAN, MAN, just let's put it manned, there, Ori, Manori, things about the, right? So this is a particular thing that everybody can understand. Again, it's understandings. I'm not going to go through this on any of this stuff on September the 22nd. It is about managing energy and well-being. But good news, Parliament of Ontario, and I'll put the link up. You have questions, comments regarding accessibility's publication, yep, you can call. But here, first session, 42nd Parliament, Statutes of Canada 2017, Chapter 3, an act to prohibit and prevent genetic discrimination. So if we think about, you have to do this, or you can't do this, or all those kind of things. In summary, I'm just going to read this out, and then I'm going to send it to you. In summary, this is what it says. This enactment prohibits any person from requiring an individual to undergo a genetic test or disclose the results of a genetic test as a condition of providing goods or services to. So, heads up, businesses out there who want to enforce certain things, you don't have a leg to stand on. But you will, and you do, if people don't understand. This is why this kind of information is something that we can pass around, especially to people who are up in, to this situation about feeling that they have or not. It's that. So, goods or service to, entering into or continuing a contract or agreement with, or offering specific conditions in a contract or agreement with the individual. So you can think of employers, businesses, people going in, going out, or people working. Exceptions are provided for healthcare practitioners and researchers. So I'm not quite sure what they mean by exceptions for healthcare practitioners. Like, do they have to do something because of the position they're in? It doesn't specify here. The enactment, which is this document here, provides individuals with other protections related to genetic testing and test results. The enactment amends the so this is like keywords here. The enactment amends the Canada Labor Code to protect employees. This is not about protecting employers. This is about protecting employees from being required to undergo a genetic test, to undergo or to disclose the results of a genetic test, and provide employees with other protections related to genetic testing and test results. It amends the Canadian Human Rights Act to prohibit discrimination on the ground of genetic characteristics. This is all kind of fit into that. So it goes on to give you the details like an act to prohibit and prevent genetic discrimination. Now I do want to then jump in. I didn't write it on here, but I also got wind of, and hopefully I have it here. Where is it? Oh, it came up. And yeah, here it is. So I have talked before about the UK having a document I've posted before, human augmentation, and the US has theirs, and under the Obama they had this whole brain thing about putting things in the brain and being able to send signals and have the mouse do what they're doing. And so there are these transhumanism, there are these labels, but this is a different one. This is our own Canadian government. Yes, I love showing you things that are tied right to the horse. Now thinking about horse chestnuts once again, go right here. And here's the title. Now it's an interesting picture they use here, but it's horizons.gc.ca. So you know it's the government when it has GC in it. Horizons, wow, aren't we looking at the future? But right at the top, Canadian flag, Government of Canada, Policy Horizons Canada. Exploring bio-digital convergence. So instead of human augmentation, we have this two words, bio-digital convergence. So bio-digital, bio, biology, you, man, and digital. And very fascinating, but yet scary, which they know that. So listening to an interview, whether it was, I've listened to a few of them, the Klaus Schwab interview, and yeah, there's a lot of questions. Do we, don't, the ethics about all of this? But I'm just going to read a couple of things here because you're going to read it, but I don't mind unpacking a little bit so you can hear my take on it. So what happens when biology and digital technology merge? So they tell you that biodigital is the thinking of biology and digital technology. So biodigital. So table of contents, just briefly, forward summary, which I'm going to read. What is biodigital convergence? Why explore biodigital convergence now? Now, from the human augmentation one that I was reading, it was more of a military. It's actually tied to the military, and it wasn't just UK. There was a group, I think it was Finland, Germany, those are the two that come up to mind that they say they're in, I'll say cahoots with. So what is bio, and then they'll probably answer that. Why explore it now? Is it military? Let's find out. And good morning, biodigital. Have no friggin' idea what the content on that one's going to be. What new capabilities arise from biodigital convergence? I can't see anything that a robot, if you want to do a machine, can do just on its own. I'm not sure new capabilities is what man actually needs, in the sense that we are quite capable. I've mentioned the book Anastasia before. She can show you and demonstrate that her mind is more powerful than all the supercomputers on the planet. So new capabilities, I'd rather flip that upside down and man learn what capabilities they have been pulled away from, or it's been not necessarily hidden from them, but in such ways hidden. Let's see what else they say. What are possible characteristics of biodigital system? What are some initial policy questions? Of course, there's going to be the ethics thing are going to come up. Conclusion, acknowledgments, and notes. I'm not sure how long. This is not a PDF like the other one. It's a forward here. In the coming years, no, don't have to be if we don't accept it. Biodigital technologies could be woven in our lives in the way that digital technologies are now. Yeah, just have your phone and then leave your phone in the drawer and go out for a walk. To be connected to our digital friends, let's say it, our laptop, our computer, our phone, not all the time. Just not all the time. I get it. It's here to stay. Use it. But what people didn't understand is they really wanted to move into making you one with tech, one with tech. Or in the case of Star Trek, if you've ever watched Star Trek, and I did study it and research it over, I think it took me, seemed like a few years steady of watching all of them. And on there is the Borg. So if you are a Star Trekkie, I'm not a Trekkie per se, but if you know anything about Star Trek, and you'll be familiar with the Borg, and that is part man, part machine, and it's all of these, and they go out about in the world and they assimilate them. So think about assimilation, and they'll say, what's the big line they say when they come onto a ship? These half machine, half man, and they come on and resistance is futile. That's the saying that the Borg says when they mount a ship or a planet, mostly ships that are in the, and then they kind of capture you and do the same thing with you. But there's a hive mind, and this queen, because they think of it as hive, is directing thoughts and can hear your thoughts. And so if you go against it, then, but you're not really there. So let's see what they kind of have to say here. More than Yep, coming years, biotechnologies will be woven into our lives in the way that digital technologies are now. Could be. Let's stick with that. Biological and digital systems are converging. They are. They don't have to. And could change the way we work, live, and even evolve as a species. I don't know about you, but man sounds good for me. 3 letters, man. More than a technological change, this biodigital convergence may transform the way we understand ourselves. I don't know about that, because if we think about the medical treatments as is today, they don't get to the root cause. So I'm not quite sure that understanding ourselves needs technology, to tell you the truth, and cause us to redefine what we consider human or natural. Biodigital convergence may profoundly impact our economy, our ecosystems, and our society. May. Being prepared to support it while managing its risks with care and sensitivity will shape the way we navigate social and ethical considerations, as well as guide policy and governance conversations. You know what? That's just a bunch of malarkey words, to tell you the truth. But what it does tell you is, from a feeling good about doing this, they've made you feel good. That's what they did by, they must have considered every little mini, guided by its mandate. Who's funding this Policy Horizons Canada anyway? Yeah, the people, they're good tax dollars. Policy Rights intends to start an informed and meaningful dialogue about plausible futures for biodigital convergence and the policy questions that may arise. I still want to know, is our tax dollars paying for this, and how much of our tax dollars is paying for this? And it could go towards the poor. It could go towards shelter. It could go towards so many other things. And meanwhile, they can't even get humanity in that way. Probably easier to do that than it is trying to, and they don't even have the cure for cancer. And they want to have something evolve. I don't know about you, but if you can't solve the problem before, how the heck are you going to create something evolve human when you can't? No, it doesn't make sense at all. Let's see here. Guided by mandate. Yep. In this initial paper, we define and explore digital convergence. Why is it important to explore now? Its characteristics. What new capabilities could arise from it? On some initial policy implications. How about they say, uh, uh, yeah, how would I say it? How about screw ups or policy implications? The implication is they don't even know what the it's going to be crazy to see how it's just going to be gobbledygook, just like human augmentation. We want to engage with a broad spectrum of partners. Of course they do. All the corporations, the big capitalism, yeah. Anyway, could say much more about that. And stakeholders on what our digital future might look. Wonder who the stakeholders are. How this convergence might affect sectors and industries. Big words, again, big words. How about just might affect living families, the world, the planet as we see it, and how our relationships with technology, nature. Listen, buddies, if they're going into technology, we're getting away from nature. End of story. It's like two heads butting. It's almost like you can't have, it's like a magnet. If you have two magnets and you want to bring them together, but they're the opposing forces of the magnets, then they aren't going to come together. So technology and nature ain't going to come together. Um, Without that whole resistance, I mean, it's going to be an explosion if you have the force on either side to make that happen. But and even life itself could evolve. We welcome your comments and participation and look forward to diving more deeply into the questions raised in this paper. Good. I'm loving that they want our comments. That's really good. All right. There's a lot of pages here. I'm just going to go into the summary here. And definitely I will explore through it and explore it through with a stand backish, a discerning kind of way. I'm having fun with it. Summary. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Canadians and policymakers began to understand that the digital age was upon us. Yeah, but not biodigital. Early movers seized opportunities, grappled with challenges, and initiated deft policies that have provided benefits for decades. Listen, your computer, the cell phone, great. You can see how that benefits. We continue to see the powerful, and even in the age of camera and the evolving of the camera, we're digital. Amazing. As a person who loves photography, oh, that is so cool. But we may be on the cusp of another disruption of a similar magnitude. There will be no similar magnitude when you lose life. It's different if your computer ticks you off and for some reason there's a short, or for some reason the internet, and you throw it at the window. I think that is the same as life, and some of the stuff they do. They can't even do research and mix things like they want to mix things without things coming down the pipeline, that scary things. So digital technologies and biological systems are beginning to combine. Really? Please tell me more, because I don't know of anything that's combining other than the chips they're putting into some people so they can go into their workplace and merge in ways that could be profoundly disruptive to our assumptions about society, the economy, and our bodies. We call this biodigital convergence. Why don't they get together with the same name? Human augmentation, why don't they just come up with the same thing instead of coming up with every country's coming up with their new one. So this paper sets out an initial framing to guide policy horizons' upcoming foresight work. I still want to know how much tax dollars are going into this project. 3 ways biodigital convergence is emerging. Number 1, full physical integration of biological and digital entities. What's a digital entity? Sounds like a little chip to me. 2, coevolution of biological and digital technologies. Coevolution, wow. The whole picture of man coming from chimpanzee, which is blown out of the water, or ape, let's call it ape. And you see the man coming, growing, whether standing up, human. That's all been BS. So at the end of the day, we don't even have history right. So I don't know where they're going with evolution when we've been man, and there might be some other things I'm not going to mention, but there might be other things to consider. Biodigital convergence is opening up striking new ways to change human beings, our bodies, our minds, our behaviors. Yeah, like you got a hive computer there telling you what to think and do, and change or create other organisms. Oh my Lord! Alter ecosystems. We can't even keep it simple to have an ecosystem that's just nature, natural, which we see it here and there. I mean, it exists. What the heck does an altered ecosystem look like with bringing in digital? New ways to sense, store, process, and transmit information. Forget about the natural telepathic abilities that man has that most don't know they have, and most aren't tapped into because they don't have the energy or even understanding they can. Nope, they're going to let you think that the only way you're going to be able to do that, transmit information to where, to whom, from what, from or to, from manage biological innovation. I know, again, they can't even find the cure for cancer or diabetes, and they have minus confidence that they're even going to get there in the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years as well. Structure and manage production and supply chains. Oh, structure, manage production. See, that sounds like you're going to be in a factory and you're going to be able to yeah, that sounds very robotic to me, if you ask me. Possible characteristics of the biodigital system. Now, I'm not sure if they're talking biodigital system as the whole system or just one man, but it sounds like it's the whole system. They have democratization, decentralization, geographic diffusion, scalability, customization, reliance on data. People, we don't need, this is information overload for people right now as it is. It's crazy. Initial policy relevant questions. So let's see what it says here under economics, social, environment. Could traditional resource-based competitive advantages fade? Of course, they want you to think. They want you to think traditional, not that I'm saying traditional was perfect, is there. So, like word of mouth. Does word of mouth go right out the window now? Would education and training systems need to be adapted to address potential skills gaps? What could data protection and intellectual property frameworks look like in a bio-digital era? I mean, they already have that right now. Can you imagine being half man, half machine, and somebody, uh, well, as they do with computers now, you get hacked. So imagine if you're half man, half machine, or part machine, part man, and you get hacked. You can get hacked. Of course you can, because we're talking about signals that are coming from outside of the body. Yeah, and then it goes on. So I'm not going to read any more, but there you go. Our good tax dollar monies are going towards exploring bio-digital convergence when they don't even have the cure for cancer. Now, I'm not talking about a cure for cancer doesn't exist. I'm saying as the systems and institutions are set up today, that's the way they're looking at it, right? Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. Yeah, the language in that alone. And they were a power. The Borg was, in the way of Star Trek was a power to be reckoned with. It's almost as if you don't have a chance for the technology they had, the abilities that they had to do this, do that. It was, when they say resistance is futile, they had assimilated so many different um, uh, different humans, different species, I'll say, because that's how they describe it in Star Trek as well, different species, man, humans, that's human species, but the other species in the world, that when they tap into their minds, part machine, part man, they're also tapping into the culture of, so they're adding, this is kind of the benefit that they say, they're adding information. So it's a new species, they assimilate a new species, and what's in the mind of that species, if they, cause they usually will get more than one person, but maybe they even get one, they'll be able to tap into a vast amount of knowledge and add that to the database they already have. And interestingly enough, the Borg ships are square, right? They're square. Um, which is not really natural if you think about shapes, right? There's not too many things square. So they thought of so many ways to seed the mind and to be able to bring forth the idea, something unnatural, which is evolving species into that. But think about how long ago Star Trek came out with the Borg, decades ago, right? Decades ago. So that's what I really wanted to talk about today in that sense. And then silly jokes. I'm going to reach back here and get the lovely pun book so we can read some jokes. But to me, on my mind right now, more and more for people to understand is understand who we are as man, understand the stages of disease, so you have a knowing that you will get confident more in as to how all disease happens. So we're going to get out of the institutions. We'd understand on man. The thing is also the fake stuff that's coming out, and the reasons with the narrative that kind of follows that, and then this whole tech, man plus tech, movement that's happening stronger, and it's actually, I don't want to say infiltrated, it's probably planned all along. The various big governments, European, American, Canadian governments, to have all of these things wrapped up in that way. So really that's on my mind, is those three things. Everything else seems like a friggin' distraction and a, how would I say it? Fear, get people into fear, so they'll do what they're told, and it's almost a, oh, how would I describe it? It's almost taking man and what little man has left, and making it even less, than what you even thought was man to begin with, and you don't even know it. That's the interesting thing part. is that people don't even know it. And it's like, we're doing too much, we're thinking too much, there's too much information, too much time in technology, computers, all these too muches that kind of come in, and they're really clouding, fogging the mirror, fogging the window to see exactly what's what man is, who man is and what our powers are, and it's just almost like crumbling, and in actual fact man is allowing it to happen, allowing it to happen. So let's go into you are trying to cheer me up. Let's do some cheering. I think balance has everything to do with cheering or dancing or playing or having fun, whatever it is. No age restrictions on playing. End of story. You're not going to change my mind on that one. Okay, that's Silly Dillies. That's this lovely book. It's probably, I think, 50 years old. Question: why is a rabbit's nose always shiny? Answer: because his powder puff is on the wrong end. Because his powder puff is on the wrong end. Okay. I kind of get it, but I don't. I should have read this sooner. So we can, but we'll go with it here. Question: who was Alexander Graham Bell Kowalski? Right? Who was Alexander Graham Bell Kowalski? Answer: the first telephone pole. The first telephone pole. Pole is in Polish. I get that one. Let's go to the next one. Gert. What did one balloon say to the other balloon? Bert. What? Gert. Nothing. Balloons don't talk. Silly willy stuff. All right, let's do a couple more here. Question: what goes 99 thump, 99 thump, 99 thump? What goes 99 thump, 99 thump, 99 thump? Answer: a centipede with one wooden leg. Oh, Lordy. Okay. Question: what's purple and flies? What's purple and flies? Answer: super grape. I mean, you really could say these things to some children. All right, let's go just ad hoc here. Question: what did the acorn say when he grew up? Answer: geometry. As G, I'm a tree. Geometry. I love it. These things, many of these things in here we probably have never heard in our lifetime. All right. Question: what's yellow and writes? What's yellow and writes? Now, when I was a kid, anytime anybody said yellow, you thought of one particular fruit. Answer: a ballpoint banana. What's big, purple, and lies across the sea from us? What's big, purple, and lies across the sea from us? So we must be in America. Answer: Great Britain. Great Britain. Question: what has red bumps and is the fastest gun in the West? What has red bumps and is the fastest gun in the West? Answer: Root Tootin' Raspberry. And they weren't kidding when they said silly dillies for this chapter. They're absolutely not kidding. One more before we get so silly. Question, why is the sky so high? Why is the sky so high? So the birds won't bump their heads. And that's enough of the silly dillies for today. I'm just going to quickly show you two last chrysalids. So out of 16 caterpillars that found their spot in the home, there's two left, and they'll be turning into butterflies, morphing into butterflies anytime soon. So I'm going to see if they'll show it. There you go. A couple of chrysalids just hanging there. But what I decided to do is actually decided to keep the shells, I guess you could say, the cocoons, the chrysalids shells in up there, except for the one. There's only one that's not there. That's the one that wiggled and jiggled its skin off so hard that it actually dropped to the bottom of the cage. And in spite of dropping and flattening one side, which you could see his doll, I took pictures of it, and putting a couple creases or wrinkles in the chrysalid, it morphed into a beautiful butterfly still. So it didn't impact it. The fall is about maybe 6 inches, 5 inches, but it didn't impact a beautiful butterfly coming out. And release that one. When did I release that one? I think last Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday was that one. But I didn't get into naming them. I didn't get into recording them. If I do it next year, for the fun of it, not necessarily name them, but I'm going to record how long they hang for, but also how long they're chrysalid, and just a few things like that, just for the fun of it. But eventually, I do want to tell you that I will do up a monarch, the Monarch project, into a blog, into a post, and the videos there will be so that you can see a caterpillar eating, you can see the caterpillar turning into a chrysalids and what they do in that process before they do it, and then to see a chrysalis change the colors they do. There's like 3 distinct colors that the chrysalid changes, and then the butterfly emerges. And I got one short video of the butterfly flying for its first time. So I got one. I like to get another one. And once I gather all this material, the good news is after September the 22nd presentation workshop, I'm going to work on it for sure at that time. But there's no more caterpillars to be found that I could find at the garden project. So yeah, it takes about 2 weeks, so it's a bit of time, and this will be just fun, just to release the last 2 butterflies sometime this week. But I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening, and find some time to play for sure. And if you haven't already signed up for the September 22nd presentation, please do so, because I, just this past weekend and thinking about it, I do have a Q&A at the end for 30 minutes, and I want people to be able to bring whatever questions they have, any question they have. And so I want to make it more intimate, so no more than 20 people. It may turn out to be less for the first one anyway. But when I say first one, I'm not quite sure. I might evolve it. I might repeat it again. We'll see. If I'm limiting it to 20 people and we already have halfway there, then there may be certain people that at the last minute, because people do, I've been down this presentation road before, people leave it to the last minute and they can't participate for whatever reason. It's online, so it's not a big issue, but it's the Q&A that I feel we can't have more than a certain group of people, because that would just, to answer in 30 minutes everybody's question, one question. I'm going to get people to post their questions if they have any pre-questions initially, so that I might be able to weave it into the presentation. It's usually what I do anyway in group presentations, and then yeah, 30 minutes only. And if it goes over, I'm not fussed. I'm not fussed about it going over, but definitely want to allow, to answer certain questions. And of course, as I talk about the information, sometimes people get their answer just in the presentation and it's done, whether I weave it in or it's already been there, and the answers come in that way. So, yeah, watching as I'm waiting to vote. Oh, wow. Cool, Dondra. Without a mask or with a mask? That's my question. Um, I told my story earlier about going to the voting polls without a mask and the exemptions. So if you didn't catch that, it's in the beginning, and that's just the way it is. So we did that, and I don't know if you have any stories different than my story, and you are going without a mask, then please share it as well, and just comment or something. How did it go? And we'll go from there. Share, share, share. But anyway, happy voting, Dondra, and everybody else. And it's your choice. It's gonna be interesting. See what's gonna happen. Stay tuned. And I think that's next Monday. Yeah, it's next Monday, and it'll be live at 5 on next Monday too. So we'll go through that. Anyway, take care, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your weekend, your play, your eating well, whatever it is that makes you feel good. And we will see you again live at 5 next Monday, unless anything crazy happens. I'll come on if need be, but otherwise, let's keep each other sane and entertained. Take care. Bye for now.